Good morning and welcome to the new edition of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. We just had the Jamboree, as I call it, the annual meeting of G20. 4 years since the full G20 met with all the heads of state. And it was a mutual bickering, mutual show of respect. And the result was all sound and fury, signifying nothing. However, there was one major achievement, and that was that the demand of President Trump was accepted. It was that the WTO, World Trade Organization, needs to be reformed. And there was a consensus. As a matter of fact, as far as that is concerned, the just concluded G20 summit at Buenos Aires, Argentina, should be a source of rather inspiration and reassurance that outgoing trade war, primarily between USA and China, that threatens to hurt the global economy, has subsided a bit. Both the leaders reaffirmed a basic commitment to rule-based international order, subject to reformation of WTO. This is welcome. Reforms of the World Trade Organization that is meant to ensure smooth global trade also includes, basically, which is lacking at present, appointing judges to the appellate body working to hear the trade disputes so as to resolve them. And then there was a dinner meeting between President Xi and President Trump. And you can be sure that in years to come, this dinner would be seen as a unique event because quite possibly, or rather I'll say probably, it heralds the emergence of a new realistic world order. And this new world order is characterized not by the hegemony of USA, not by the suzerainty of China over Africa and Asia, but is characterized by unilateral negotiations based on individual state power interests, not the global, but the bilateral, and that is what is needed. Once the bilateral agreements are okay, the multilateral agreements follow suit. But the preponderance of the predominance of the multilateral agreement is often shaky because the root is a bilateral agreement. And that is why all the multilateral agreements at one stage or the other shatter. Not that there is any guarantee that the bilateral agreements would be everlasting, would be enduring, but there is a greater likelihood because when you are having a bilateral agreement, all you are concerned is about your benefits, both the parties. There is a mutual give and take. They understand the need of each other. In a multilateral agreement, many times gets sacrificed. So this dinner, which I would refer to as a new Yalta agreement. You remember at the time of Second World War, Germany was winning all the way. And then three amigos, Stalin, Churchill, Roosevelt, met over a ship in Yalta. Yalta is in Russia. And that meeting was a precursor to the combined defense and attack on Nazis. And that signaled the advent of an era which would see end of Nazism And this dinner can be perceived to be of the identical significance. Unfortunately, the political pundits, swayed as they are by the journalists who do not have a real understanding of the world, have not foreseen the possibility and the implications of this meeting, which I see as a signal event in the emergence of a new realistic order, not idealistic. Let's be very clear. Idealism is fine as far as the theories are concerned, but we have to be realistic. We have got to be concerned with whatever national hopes and aspirations are. We have got to be concerned with what is good or bad for the country. So this dinner, leading to the joint communique later on, where all the leaders affirmed their commitment to a rule-based international order and the reform of the WTO, was really an achievement. And it was said that the USA is blocking appointments. That goes against the tenet of multilateralism, and that was justified in the sense that USA knows that the judges who are appointed are often biased against USA. So a tighter regime of intellectual property rights, IPRs, is in order. Now, what China has been doing is that it is forcing foreign companies, primarily American companies, who want to go to that country to sell their technology or give their technology free of cost. Only then they are permitted to access that market. It denies the foreign patent holders the basic patent right to stop a Chinese entry from using the technology after the licensing contract ends. And that was the arm twisting of the technology firms. And WTO was silent on that. And this act USA, and they said, okay, we must have a fair trade. We must stop this rank, objectionable, wanton arm twisting by China of our technology firms. So what is wrong in that? As far as I feel, this was a very fair demand. You cannot force a company to give you to technology. You have entered into a license agreement to use the technology for a certain period. And when that period comes to an end, it's not necessary or essential for the technology company to give the technology its patent rights. But China was forcing it. And that was the bone of contention. So that declaration very correctly underscores the structural reforms to enhance growth. It says that the monetary policies will continue to support economic activity and ensure price stability, which is very important for the consumer. Secondly, it has to be consistent with the central bank's mandates. And all central banks are concerned with the national interest. Now, let's be very clear about it. Agreed that all the national mind are a global interest, but sometimes these national interests can be antithetical. The fiscal policies must rebuild buffer where needed. And that was lacking in WTO concept till now. So now for the first time, buffers will be created and they'll be used flexibly, be growth friendly, and ensuring that the public debt is on a sustained path. Not like in Zambia, where the dollar value is in millions. Millions of Zambian dollars is equal to $1 US. That is simply not possible. So it has to be seen that the sustainability is the prime focus. Agreed. The G20 agreed that the sustainable path would be to accept the needs of each country. And the G20 agreed that the tariffs and tax evaders deserve no refuge. They cannot be permitted to take benefit from the situation, or their money can be laundered at will. Whether they're tax evaders or whether they're terrorists, they must not be able to exploit the concept of globalization, as the concept of refugees cannot be permitted to be exploited by the terrorists. And that has been done till now. We are aware of that. As a matter of fact, this is for the first time that the G20 accepted the fact that the present world order is creating situations where the terrorists and the tax evaders, the money launderers, are able to take benefit. Now, India played a major role in using the forum to push for cooperation to deal with this menace, the menace of the economic offenders. So the G20 has agreed to ratify the Multilateral Convention on Multilateral Administration Tax Matters. And again, that's an achievement which has happened the first time. So G20, which I have always derided as an annual wasteful jamboree, a fiesta where more than 150 leaders go and enjoy and backslap each other, has done something this time. Now, what happens is when this mutual administration tax matters are resolved, it will result in boosting the revenue. Possibly, the DNA stays on its track. If that is proven to be correct, then there can be some hope as far as economy is concerned. But now let's come to the political part. However strong the economy may be, if there are political bickerings, then the economy cannot sustain itself. Economy's two ingredients are stability and growth. And the third is inclusiveness. Till now, G20 has failed miserably in making the growth inclusive. As I discussed in my last comments last week, relating to G20's failures, where I presented the progress report of G20 till now, where it has failed miserably in making the growth inclusive. But if this communique, which has been issued asking for bilateral relations being the bedrock of the multilateralism, and the reforms of WTO leading to a rule-based international order are implemented in good faith, and that's the prime thing, they are implemented in good faith, then there is hope that the growth might be inclusive. And if the growth is inclusive and the marginal sections of society are protected, then the game is worth the cost. Another point which emerged was the so-called global warming, which they have now sensibly called climate change. For the first time, G20 political leaders, defunct as they are, as far as the mental capability is concerned, accepted the fact it's not global warming, it's climate change. And then they said we'll do everything. But they forgot that the climate change is a natural phenomenon, as I've discussed many times. And only 20% of the total climate change is affected by the human activity. Balance all is natural. So 20%, if you want to affect, laying so much stress on that is not acceptable. What we actually need is adaptability to the climate change. You cannot stop the change. Let's be very clear about that. Because even if you stop all human activity, climate change would still be there. And if the climate change is going to be there, why waste those resources which can be used effectively for other purposes? I'm really amazed that what Ahmedabad, a city in India, is doing. What they have decided is, because they are heat islands, India is very hot. In Ahmedabad, they are going to paint all the rooftops with an anti-reflective paint. Now, if G-20 had taken that sort of decision, that the man activity should not stop, but it should adapt to the change, it would have been a welcome sign. But barring Trump, all others agreed that we must do something. And we know that the good intentions pave the way to hell. Another thing which emerged was that there was a clear understanding that those old type of colonial attitudes are no longer possible, or the white man's burden concept is out. And the concept, another which I was quite impressed, was given by Modi when he talked of Jai. Jai is an Indian word which means victory. And here Jai stands for Japan, India, USA. Now Pacific, Indo-Pacific and USA practically span the whole universe, barring Europe. So maybe these sort of bilateral and trilateral relationships can be formed, which shall be a bedrock of multilateralism. And if G20 moves that way, in that precise manner, then there is some hope. Thank you.